Welcome back to another episode of Unmuted by Go2 Gamers, a podcast that takes a closer look at the esports world. And this episode, we will be talking about MMO. Not just MMORPG, but MMO in general. And we will be diving into, some of the hot topics or even tough issues in this particular genre. Yes, we are Go2 Gamers, but doesn't mean everything we do is just esports. To a certain extent, we would like to also look into the competitive side of MMO. All right, so to kickstart things off, my name is Freddy, and I'm here with Jared as well as Dave or Andrea. How are you guys?
Pretty good. It's a sunny day, another sunny day in the summer. What a the news.
Yeah,
But
it's
now,
hot
pretty
here as
good.
well. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm in solidarity with you. Like super hot here as well. How about you, Jared? Yeah.
Yeah, it's hot here too, even though we're definitely not in summer. But yeah, living on the coast, it's that life. It's always hot.
Okay. All right. Speaking of hot, I think let's start our topic today, about MMO and all that with I would say the recent movement of the Active Blizzard thing and like how we spoke about this before the podcast, right? We want to talk about the whole movement of a lot of people are leaving retail WoW, if not the whole WoW ecosystem. I mean, it can be due to like many reasons. Could be from the gameplay, could be what's happening to like Active Blizzard and all that. But yeah, let's talk about that. What do you think is causing this movement, like this wave of people leaving or like boycotting the game? And World of Warcraft being one of the longest running MMORPG ever.
Jared, you are still an active
Yeah,
player.
I am.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think first and foremost, it has to be said that definitely the retail movement away has been going for probably about, let's say, up to a year. It happened maybe even more because during the last expansion, Battle for Azeroth, a lot of players left the game then, but it's become more prevalent lately in Shadowlands, the latest expansion. I think a lot of it was due to a content drought, where we had such a long period between the game's release and its first patch. The longest period actually from the game release to a 9.1 patch. So a lot of people took that as a sign of the devs not actually caring about the game, and I don't think that's the actual issue. And you can take things like the pandemic into account, but at the same time, not having anything for that amount of time is always going to push people away in any circumstance. Beyond that, I think lately, the last month, definitely you've seen a lot more of it being publicized, obviously because of the issues. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, to
Adif, go ahead.
me,
Yeah.
I was a very addicted person to WoW in my youth, through I don't know, my 20s, I'd say. I don't know. I think I dedicated to that game more than anything to any other game, Dota included. But I stopped when they released Mist of Pandaria, which I think is 2012, 2013, around that end of 2012, I think it was. And it was a content issue for me and for most of my guild and most of my friends, because we were used to, we are super competitive and we are like tryhards, or going for the server first if possible. And Mist of Pandaria was just flat out too easy. I remember that we went to the first raid, to the first wing of the raid, and we cleared first boss in one night, which usually in progression shouldn't happen like that when you first time face. And we just cleared 2 wings or 3 wings of that content, and we said, okay, this is not a game for adults, or for to please to keep the interest of adult public game player base. And we just stopped, and I stopped there, and I never came back to that game. I watched, of course, I kept track of their expansions. I watched the world races. I watched some PvP. Sometimes I stopped with that as well at some point because it simply wasn't what I knew about PvP. And that was it. Dota filled the hole, the gap pretty well. And I am also the kind of person that likes to focus on something. I can't play 7 things at one time. Also in WoW, I don't know, through 7-8 years of playing, I think I had just one alt. So yeah, I dedicate myself to something, and when I decided Dota is that something, that was it.
Yeah. Like yourself, I dedicated a lot of hours into World War Cup as well. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit to that. Like I think I started my whole adventure into Azeroth, I would say, since vanilla. Yeah, it's pretty early of vanilla. Like I was part of the beta as well, if I remember correctly. But I was not super like hardcore until Blackwing Lair was launched. Yeah, that was when it was a little bit more hardcore, and then closer into the end of vanilla, I would say Ankiraj as well as Naxxramas. Yeah, that's when we were super hardcore, and it was of course affected my school life and my uni life back then. And then, but
Yeah.
it's okay, it's part of our youth. Yeah, let's do it. And then I would say I'm like I'm pretty much a classic WoW player. I'll call that myself. Like I like the older content when things are quote unquote, not to say harder, but there's this more punishing. When when you remember when we still have 40-man raid or 25-man raid on, when one person screw up, that's it, you're fucked. Like when there's no such thing as a heroic raid or like mythic raid. Every raid is just one difficulty hard. Right, that's back in like TBC, and then all the way even to I think Rap for Lich King. You don't have that option because but at the same time, understand that why Blizzard back then they had to make the decision of like kind of like finding the balance between hardcore player as well as casual player, because like the play base are so huge. Like there are like tens and millions of people playing it. Of course, not everybody may be able to like dedicate that amount of time like some of us do, right? So they want to find that balance, but that's also one thing that kind of draw people away. I would say after Mists of Pandaria, even like closer to the early like the latest expansion, they kind of did a good job in maybe Legion or even like the ones before, but this is a problem that has been around for a long time, and I don't blame them because it's a game that's been around for 15 years. It's bound to go through a lot of evolution and a lot of challenges. But being a classic player that's still active now, I'm actually still raiding in TBC classic. I tried Shadowlands, I tried Battle for Azeroth, like retail. It just couldn't retain me. I just trying to raid. I got into like heroic raid, even a little bit of mythic here and there. I just don't feel the camaraderie. I just don't feel that kind of like connection. And at the same time, like I think Jared, we probably can expand on this a lot. I think a lot of it has to do with gameplay as well. Not so much of it's not fun anymore, but it's just that it's felt like the same 2 years ago. Like a lot of classes, they make minor tweaks here and there, but ultimately, we play this game. Yes, the community is important, but it's also the gameplay, right? It needs to feel the satisfaction from the character that you're attached to, or you level, or you spend hours into. But now everything is easy. It's easier for you to level to like max level now. You can just boost it. You can just do this. You can just do that. It's easy for you to gear up even. A lot of things just kind of like doesn't feel so rewarding anymore. And throughout the years, a lot of players also like voice out several feedback, and if not like how to, like they want to fight for their classes or to be more superior than the rest, whatever. Of course, and of course, as Blizzard, they cannot kind of like please everybody so that every class will be OP, right? But I think that's the problem, right? That's the catch-22 situation. Do you do that so that everything is balanced, or do you still have? Because no matter how you balance, there will be a certain classes that will come up slightly on top in the things that they do. Could be tanks, could be DPS, could be whatever, right? So I feel like they shouldn't try to just place everybody, because when you do that, there's no fun.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, again, I
yeah.
lost contact with WoW over the last years, but I think they always had the problem in balancing classes or keeping, I remember there was a time when I was playing when mages were just left at the door of the instance and they were just coming for the table. I mean, how useless can you make a class? And
You're
they
not
did
even a
nothing
buff bot,
about
right?
it, although Yeah, the community was outraging and complaining constantly. So you ask why people migrate or why people stop playing or whatever. If you are a mage player, I have friends that were like super mages, and I know I saw their frustration. It was hard.
I mean, the other thing that you also see is the borrowed power aspect of the game, where every new expansion seems to have something that just disappears after 2 years of playing. So, you know, in WoD we had something simple, it was a little ring, and you know, you got the power from, yeah, it was a ring. In Mists of Pandaria, it was a cape. In Legion, it was our artifact weapons. And then the powers at the in BFA, corruption powers. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah.
I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But like every single time you get to that point of the game and you feel, oh my god, I've got these powers now. I'm at the like peak. I can do pretty much anything. And you know, 2 weeks later is the pre-patch and it's all gone. And your character just feels like nothing again. Like, you know, someone who hasn't defeated old gods for the last 10 years. And I think that's also something that pulls people away. It's not to say that other MMOs don't have something similar. In Final Fantasy, there's relic weapons, but to get those relic weapons is such a chore. And I know I've done relic weapons. It is, and it's extremely amazing when you actually finish your entire relic weapon. Even if you are a new player to the game, a lot of people are going back and doing their relic weapon quests when they're, you know, 30 levels, 20 levels above that point. And, you know, even just to have that glamour is just awesome. And it's an awesome feeling. And yeah, I know artifact weapons were some of the best looking weapons in WoW for the most part, but transmogging them just doesn't feel the same as actually wielding them.
Yeah.
And it is definitely a factor that has lost a lot of players' interest in WoW.
I want to chime in
There's
on that,
also-
right?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a quick one, because like I'm still actively playing TBC, right? So like you remember last time, like from Vanilla, right? The legendary weapon was Sulphurous Hammer as well as Thunder Fury, right? Like Thunder Fury is still very useful as a tank weapon in TBC, like cross expansion. Correct. And my bear tank still uses ATS. You know, like the legendary stuff. Yes, it's supposed to have that kind of power level that can last you for like 3-4 years even, you know, like, but right now when for the last few expansions it doesn't feel the same. It's like, you know, you just toss these legendary weapons somewhere. You can even delete them because you already have it in your transmog lock, right? You don't need it anymore. You can just toss it elsewhere. It's not important. It's just like a toy. You know, it's a I don't need it anymore, but it shouldn't feel that way, I feel. Yeah. Sorry, Dave, you wanted to say something? Yeah.
No, it's just to continue the transmogrification thing that Jared would brought. I remember that I actually, and many people, not only me, I mean, I had people in the guild and chats with a lot of people about this. It was weird when you saw a new player coming, you know, let's say in TBC or in the in the Lich King expansion, and they will just go back into, I don't know, solo Onyxia or something, and they just have the achievement and everything. And it was frustrating for those who grinded their years, you know, their time, their life to go to Black and Glare or to kill Onyxia or to have, you know, the sulfurous hammer, and you then just saw someone next to you who has his account for I don't know, less than a year with the same achievements. I feel like that also plays a part for the core players, you know, for the old players who might not find it anymore rewarding, or what's the point in me being so hard try about this if everyone can get it at some point. You just go when you're level 80 into a raid that's 460. And
yeah, and I guess that's the reason why there's so like still so many people that like just stay on to classic or even TPC classic, right? That they are not willing to even venture into Shadowlands or even better for Azeroth. They're like, you know what, screw that shit. I'm just gonna stay with my private servers or even just with my classic friends, because like it or not, like this is Classic is like 15 years old, but still, it was a good game. It is still a good game right now. Like people still like it. Like I don't understand why retail can't quick to that. Like I'm not asking them to convert to be like a new classic, or like make everything hard again, or like make everything such a chore again. Not really that, but like there's elements that you can borrow and evolve from there, I feel. Yeah.
Well, they had a lot of criticism, and it wasn't well received when they start to remaster and reforge everything.
That's true.
Warcraft,
Yeah.
World of Warcraft. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't good either. So
Okay. Okay, I want to bring the topic to something a bit more deeper, right? Like for MMO, right? I mean, not just WoW per se, but any other MMO, right? Like, for you as an MMO player, do you think gameplay is more important or content? I mean, they are closely related, but they are also in a way a little bit different. You get, I mean, content, I mean, storyline or all that, like the dungeons and the design, whereas gameplay is gameplay, right? How you move, how you maneuver, how you do stuff with your character. Yeah. What's your thought? What's more important?
I guess for me it's content, because gameplay you will eventually get it. Well, if it's super easy, then it's not challenging. No matter how awesome the content is, if you just have to press two buttons, or you don't have a rotation or something, it's just not challenging in that part. But they usually go hand in hand. I mean, I'm yet to find an MMO or to know an MMO that has way too easy gameplay but way too hard content or too much content. I don't think that's an issue in MMO world.
Mhm. Jared?
Yeah,
But content,
I agree. It is content for me as well, because yeah, I love the story side of gaming in general, but for MMOs it's so much deeper, because you end up going through all of that story. I think that's the one thing where I also feel like WoW is kind of dipped a bit. You don't feel the story anymore. Yes, you go through it weekly. You got to do your weekly campaign, um, but you don't feel the story as much anymore. What exactly was the Battle for Azeroth? We don't know. There was a fight somewhere, maybe. I guess. But yeah, it's content for me, because yeah, as Dib said, gameplay, you will you'll find something you like and you'll put the time into getting the hang of it. And if it's difficult, you will play through it and get to a point where you are comfortable with it, but you'll put more time into the content side of things.
Stand as one for the Alliance!
look at EVE Online, for instance. That's an MMO based on a lot on your gameplay. You
Yeah.
have to know what the hell you're doing with your ships, not just
Yeah.
one. You have to know your role in the raid and so on. And it's so much complicated in that aspect than just executing a fight. Or that's a very strange MMO. I like it. I like to watch it, but I can't learn shit on it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Even if
I'm
you
not
follow
capable.
certain guides online, you can still get things wrong.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Even Line goes completely above my head. I
The
watch it
learning
even, and
curve
I'm
is
like,
insane. Yeah.
I don't.
Only the thought of grinding or
Oh yeah,
working a lot to get a decent ship and then losing it to
one
someone
fight.
that plays it for 10 years.
Yep.
It's like terrifying. No, I don't want that in my life.
Yeah. I don't want to relive my real life situation in in a game. You get what I mean? I don't want that in an MMO. It's just
You're right.
too heartbreaking. Yeah. Okay. So that takes us to one of our main topic, right? Our first main topic that I want to ask all of us here. What does MMO games mean to you? Like, yeah, I mean, as a genre, right? What does it mean to you? Is it just another outlet, or What do you think? Like, what do you long for in an MMO game when you choose to play this title? Yeah.
Well, I think for me, as I said, I've been playing MMOs for countless years. There's no MMO that I really haven't picked up and tried. It obviously starts out as a bit of an escape, something to clear your head, to get away from things. But a lot of them end up drawing you in for entertainment value. And I'm not someone that likes the whole superhero movie kind of genre. I don't uh, I don't go for that. But when it comes to my own character being that superhero, or you know having to build up to that place, I think that's where MMOs are for me. It's also very much a social thing, even though a lot of the time that I've played MMOs, I actually haven't met the people that I play with, even though I spent hours and hours with them. Um, I still enjoy my time with them, and we will chat after a raid for an hour just about random stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was WoW was for me an escape at the time. It wasn't the best period of my life. I had a lot of things to, deal with, and I couldn't, and I didn't know how. So I turned to somebody introduced me to this MMO as a, escape, as a way to spend some time online or do something else. And it sucked me in hard. I don't regret it at all. I made so many friends during my MMO time. It became a social thing. I remember when we had to like split guilds because some of us wanted more, and we had casuals, and it was complicated to manage everything, and we just had to split. I was crying like hell because I didn't want to leave people behind, but I wanted to do that as well. It was crazy. Dramas, yeah, wow, dramas. It became then it became something close to competitive for me, trying to get always trying when hit from 60 to 17, from 17 to 80, do be the server first character, paladin or whatever you're playing, warrior. Do server first with the guild, raids, content. So yeah, PvP. I played so much PvP. Actually, my PvP partners, one of them is my fiance right now, and the other one is one of our best friend. The other one when we were doing 3v3. So yeah, it created a new world for me, if you want. Right now, games and Dota and some other MMOs are a job. So yeah, it truly changed my life.
Yeah. To me, like playing an MMO, right? It used to feel like you're joining a gang, right? It's like you're joining, let's go, like when you join a guild or a faction or whatever you call it, it's like, hi, we are all brothers, we are all like, sisters in arms and everything. And you have that kind of like camaraderie, and like people just chat about nonsense. And a lot of the games now, they still do that. They still allow you to have that kind of capabilities. But I think the problem is when you feel like what you said, Dave, earlier, is that when it becomes a chore, it becomes a job, then you're like, there's a difference between like, I have these duties and then I'm doing it, for passion and for the friendship, as compared to like, all right, guys. Today we're gonna do this. This is what point 1, 2, 3. All right, got it. Okay, everybody must plus. Remember. It just sounds like a job. It just sounds like you're joining the army, but you're fighting for what? But but of course, this kind of thing is not so much of just a community, but the game itself. Like that's why I asked you earlier about the gameplay and content. That's like if the game is not fun to play, then screw this shit, right? But if the game doesn't have enough content for you to feel the satisfaction, nobody's gonna band together and join these gangs. It's like the same gang. If let's say if they want to terrorize a city, they want to make sure the city has enough loot for them to like do whatever they want to do. So they will not like start a gang in I don't know, a desert for when there's no resources or whatsoever. So like to me, that's how I feel. Like I just joined a gang. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm part of this mafia, that kind of thing. I was always a hot player until recently. Yeah, I'm now an alliance player. But yeah, I always have that mentality, right? It's like guys, let's go, let's be aggressive, let's do that. And when you have a bunch of like-minded people doing things, stupid things or silly things, or even like killing a big boss and serious stuff, you just feel, yeah, I'm part of something. I'm part of this gang. I have this tattoo, but instead of tattoo, it's like your guild tabat and stuff like that. And that's what makes MMO fun. I feel whether it's RPG or even like something like Warframe or so when you're part of something. And yeah, and I think this genre, when you have so many other people there with you, it just translates to all these different titles. And you can say that yes, WoW kind of popularized this, but it's not really just the grandfather, right? There are a lot of other games before that kind of like also evolve different elements. But to me, yeah, being part of something is really what drawn me into to MMO.
Sounds,
Anything else to add about that?
Oh, your story is much better. I mean, you have a goal, right from the beginning.
Yeah.
While for us, we was just like, let's just find something to distract ourselves, and we distracted
Yeah.
so much that we changed our lives with it.
Yeah. I mean,
I remember
is-
my earlier WoW days, like when I have a bunch of friends, because we used to play in the LAN cafes, right? When a lot of us we don't really own like a how to say like a good enough PC at home to be able to play WoW. That's back in that we were talking about 15 years ago. So a lot of us we just hang out in the LAN cafe. So yeah, you just make friends. So once you finish it, you can even talk to other people. Just shout across. You don't even need Discord or like back then was TeamSpeak or like Mumbles, right? You don't even need that.
Mumble,
It's,
yeah.
it's straight away. It's like, hey, that's it. That's all you do. Like, steal me. I need healing. Straight away you can do that. But so that was really really fun. But what I'm trying to say is that like the feeling of the rawness is just something that's really really cool to me. Yeah. Okay. All right. I actually lost my train of thoughts there, but never mind. We'll continue. Yeah, I was just so drawn by the personal experience.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
Gerard, because I know you for many years, and I know how dedicated you are to this World of Warcraft. Are you actually thinking or really thought about changing the MMOs? Dedicate yourself to something else?
Quit WoW altogether.
Look, I have played other MMOs and I have put a lot of time into Final Fantasy. And I do love Final Fantasy 14. I've loved Final Fantasy games since 4.
Looks like chaos has been waiting for us. I want to kill chaos.
4 was the first Final Fantasy I ever played. That was a long time ago. But 14 drew me in a lot. I played it when it first came out, when it was actually terrible, before it was The Realm Reborn. And that's when I got into it. And I enjoyed it then. It's just that there was nothing to do once you got to the end game. And then when they brought A Realm Reborn, I went back for a little bit and I dabbled a bit. And, I still felt my draw to WoW. And then I think last year or the year before, I went back again and I got 2 characters to max level and did a bit of the end game content. And I do love that game. And I would actually love to put more time into it and, make it my main MMO, or yeah, if you want to call it that. But I think somehow I always just go back to World of Warcraft, and there's something about WoW that always just grabs me. It may just be that it does feel a lot more simplistic at times than Final Fantasy. That could be it. And I don't want to sit for 7 hours in a raid nowadays. But at the same time, I think that Final Fantasy has a lot to give that WoW doesn't, and that's probably one of the biggest drawing points for me is exactly that WoW just hasn't given enough lately. And yeah.
Do you think you ever quit WoW like for good? Like that's it. Enough is enough. No more. Delete. Yeah.
I don't know if I'd ever quit for good. I think at some stage I'll always go back, even if they wiped every single character and started WoW fresh. I think even knowing that I'd have to level up again, at some stage I'd probably go back just to be like, hey, I remember doing all of this before. Look how it is now.
To be
It's
frank,
nostalgia, yeah.
we are already doing it with Classic, right?
Yeah, exactly. I said that I wouldn't go back to Classic, and a week before TBC releases, and here I was going, all right, guess I'm going back to Classic then.
Yeah, no, but the leveling up experience is something really nice, actually.
Yes.
I remember a lot of my, leveling up times in WoW, and recently I came back to Guild Wars 2,
Mm.
and I mean, when I started to level up, I was like, yeah, this is it. Me
Yeah.
and my,
I think one of my
I
favorite.
I remember back in the WoW days, I was kind of hating the way the quests were, like bring me 30 rabbit foods, bring me 20 pelts, bring me 17
Yeah,
flowers, and I was like, oh God, can
correct.
you go get it yourself
Yeah,
for once?
Right next to you.
yeah.
Yeah. But I actually enjoyed leveling up now in Guild Wars. It's a bit different. Uh, they do have a lot of quests like that as well, of course. But it's still, I mean, you feel the progression. You level up that experience bar. You get a new skill.
Mm.
It's when it's something it's new. Because Guild Wars 2 for me, well, returning to it after I don't know 7 years or something like that, 6 years, it was new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was I was like, I
Um,
might remember some. Yeah, there was no here, but that was all I remembered.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
the feeling of leveling up, correct, when you see that ray of light zoom and the ding or whatever you call it, or whatever you feel right in different games,
Ding.
the ding
Ding.
is so, I don't know, it's just something that you cannot describe in real life. You know, like you just learn something, you just like achieve something, even though it's just like one level. You like, especially max level when you finally reach 60, 70 or whatever, or even in other games, the max level, you be like, oh, you just want to tell the whole world, right? It's like tell in you chat, type you chat, ding, then everybody's oh, congrats, congrats, congrats. You know, the same thing all over again, but you just still feel nice. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of
What's
my
the max
favorite
level now in
things
WoW?
in WoW, well, it has actually
They
from
squish it,
Shadowlands it got
right? Yeah.
squished. Yeah,
Mm.
so 60 is now max level.
Okay.
Which is a bit
Yeah.
weird because in TBC you're now a high level than you're on Shadowlands.
Yep.
Because we're 70 in classic and 60 in the latest.
Yeah, retail, it's just weird.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing, and I the other day we spoke about Guild Wars 2. So I went back and like looked, and the last expansion I played was the Thorns, something about Thorns. Yeah,
That's
and
a
there's
very
like
hard expansion.
there's like 3 more expansions, and I was like, oh, I see. Something I might actually look into. But I think my favorite thing about that game was the dynamic of changing weapons, and you change to I tried to play essentially a rogue. So you change to like 2 melee weapons, and then you swap one out by mistake, and suddenly you have a sword and a dagger,
And
and
the
it's like,
different
wait, what? Where's
the
my
different
buttons gone?
set of skills on the weapon.
Yes, and I was like, where's my buttons? What happened? What did I do? And then trying to figure out what goes together well and what works.
This is
But
something
yeah,
that I like very much about Guild Wars. I realize now that I like about Guild Wars because you asked earlier about the gameplay versus the content, and the gameplay in Guild Wars, it's a lot about your rotation and skill bars. And Jared just said you can weapon swap. You have to weapon swap because of your rotation. That's in your rotation. While in content, I know it's related, really, content with gameplay here, because they don't have like fire resist and all that massive amount of farm for the gear. You get the high-end gear or the gear required for raids pretty easy, or it's doable for everyone. But then when you get into the raids, you have to be good at your gameplay, because the way you overcome the mechanic, or you beat the boss, it's by dodging, by rolling, by using your skills you don't have the gear that will mitigate fire damage, or will have the stance less on you, or no, it's your gameplay, and that's challenging and that's fun.
Yeah, you mentioned that the other day, I mean, off the podcast, you mentioned that the health of Guild Wars 2 is actually pretty good right now, right? If it's actually
The
look into
community,
it,
right?
yeah, the community, the number of players playing. To be honest, I had no idea. Like prior to this, before you told me, I was like, okay, I thought it's a dead game, but apparently not. So can you tell us more about that?
It's very weird. Again, I to explain this a bit, I went to Guild Wars 2. I reinstalled and reactivated the account because I'm super, super bored with the Dota 2 current patch that's like since forever. It's the same five. I play support of off lane, and there are 3 or 4 heroes that you can actually play to win right now. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for the patch, and I need something else to do in the evenings.
Yep.
And since some of my friends were in Guild Wars 2, some of my WoW friends went to Guild Wars 2 back a while. Well, they were just saying, come and see, come and see. I was like, no, man, this is a dead game. No, it isn't. And I entered the game. And they have now, for instance, because they are preparing a new expansion to come in February, they just announced it. And to celebrate that, they have some world bosses returning and everything, content that you could do just years ago. It's freezing my computer, which is not a bad one. It's like literally thousands of people, you teleport to some town to do some daily quest or something, and it sucks because the whole screen is green, with nameplates. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And no, it's not a dead game by any means. More so, I think people are starting to come here because of what's happening recently and scrambling, finding a new title.
Yeah. Okay, that brings us to the next topic, right? Which is the alternative games to WoW. Due to their decline, they used to always be like the number one, right? Or the perception is that they're the number one MMORPG. So yeah, Guild Wars 2 is one alternative, but we also have a lot of the others, from like New World, which just came out end of last month. Yeah, it's pretty new. And then we have, of course, FF14. There's like, the huge beef that's happening right now between FF players and the WoW players. And then Ashes of Creation, I think it's not out yet. You have played the beta, right, Jared?
I
For
played,
Ashes or-
yeah, I played for like a week. It didn't really get much done, but probably one of the biggest games I'm looking forward to. I just wish it wasn't like 3 years away, essentially.
Yeah, then there are a lot of other titles as well. I mean, well, like Lost Ark, Black Desert Online, Destiny 2, RuneScape, and a lot more like EVE Online. So, I mean, we asked you this earlier, right? Like, will you ever change? You say no, you will stick to WoW. But like, you also mentioned about Ashes of Creation. Like, is there any other titles that is kind of like on your list, like sort of like to try and not so much like to jump ship?
I think New World is probably going to be there. Like, so yeah, it was the beta at the towards the end of last month, and at first there were definitely issues, but that's what betas do. And okay, it was like a just over 2 week beta period, and they pretty much fixed most of the issues and rolled out the like patches during the beta, solved a lot of the issues. There were obviously still things, and the game has now been pushed back another 3 weeks, I think, so to the middle of September for release, which is understandable. But I think that game has a lot of the aspects of things like Guild Wars with the weapon swapping, which you don't really have to do, but it definitely helps a lot. So you got like a great axe, which is really good for cleave, and hitting more than one target at once. So you're clearing trash packs, it's amazing. And then you've got this little hatchet, a one-handed axe, which you can swap to for single target for bosses because it does a ton of damage and it gives you a lot of self-healing. So there's that aspect. I think they have to build on things a lot still with that game, because I don't really know exactly what the end game content is going to be. I got to level 40-ish, and you do 3 dungeons along the way, which are pretty difficult. They actually feel a little bit chaotic at times, which is a problem in a game like that. But it's a game that I definitely will try again once it's fully released. Ashes of Creation is the other one, but Ashes of Creation, I wish that game was closer to release. They're putting it into basically like beta testing now, but I think that beta testing is going to be over like a 2-year span as they clear up a lot of stuff, because that game is probably going to be the one. Well, I think a lot of people have said that about a lot of games. It's probably going to be the one that's the WoW killer, and then they die. other games that MMO wise, obviously, like I said, I'd love to go back to Final Fantasy 14. I actually have been looking at going back into Guild Wars until I saw there were 2 new expansions, and I was like, uh-oh. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot of promise in MMOs coming. Lost Ark from going from only being playable in I think it was China and Russia to soon to be in NA and EU. I think that's going to be another one, which doesn't feel wholly MMO at times, but it definitely is. It's like a dungeon crawler MMO game, which is a weird concept, but it's also quite fun. So yeah, I think there's a lot of promise coming for MMOs, and it's going to be interesting to see.
Not gonna lie, I think I'm gonna jump back to FF14 closer to the release of Endwalker. I think it's next year, right? Early next year. So I'm probably gonna switch, or like, at least squeeze in a bit of time for that. Maybe end of the year, I'm not sure. But yeah, there are actually a lot of options. I think which makes the whole selection process even tougher, right? Because like the thing about MMO is like either be it whether a one pay scheme or like a monthly subscription or whatsoever, there's usually something that kind of like bind you to the whole like ecosystem. So like it's not as simple as, okay, I'm just gonna play 10 games and then like pay all the stuff. You kind of want to choose, because I mean, one is of course about the monetary commitment, but 2 is actually the time. I think you just have 24 hours per day. You just can't play like 5 MMO at the same time. Although I do know people that like play 3 or 4 ongoing, probably like you yourself, Jared. Yeah, but I do know quite a number of them that are like that. So okay, to move things forward, I would like to dive back into the what attracts us to this game, right? I mean, we talk about it quite in a bit of details just now, but I would like to go even deeper about like the attraction of these games, right? Like, for example, like a lot of the time when we go into MMO, we always try to split the content into a few categories. For example, like the PvE content, the PvP content, and to a certain extent the community, the social side of thing as well. Like for example, for me, since last time, even before WoW, I used to play Ragnarok online, and I have friends who like to play the guild wars, fight against the PvP, and also there was not much PvE content basically back then. But for me, my favorite part of the thing is to grind resources and open up my shop. I like to sell shit. I like to make money, you know. Yeah. The same thing with WoW. I always like to be active in auction house. I like to play a part and try to monopolize the certain resources, cut down stuff, buy out all the resources and like now follow my price. So that's my joy. And I even know a friend, like he most MMO, what he likes to do is all the random stuff like fishing. Like I'm not sure why, but he's a freaking fisherman. He just go in and fish. I'm like, why are you doing that? Why can't you just do it in real life? He doesn't even fish in real life, you know. So yeah, what are some of these attractions that will like kind of like draw you in? Like whenever you find a new game or when you're in the game, you can't help but to do all these activities. What are some of these activities?
The sense of progression is one. Guild Wars is very weird in that sense, because most MMOs, I think they have like a vertical progression. You start with some basic gear, you get some gear, you progress up and up and up, and until you get to the last boss or the high-end boss. This is Guild Wars has, to begin with, it's free to play. You just buy the expansion or the game, and then there's no subscription there, which was a big plus, and I wanted to mention that. But the grind, the farm, is pretty big, mainly because the gear that you need to enter the first level, the second level, they are called fractals. They are most likely more like a 10-man raid, although here they are 5-man, but that's the difficulty. To enter the fractals, you need some sort of gear, and you can only craft that. You can't buy it from Black Lion, which is their auction house. So to craft that, you need to have the mats. To have the mats, you have to grind, to level up professions, and that it's actually rewarding, Although you say, I need to spend weeks, days to grind that and that and that. At the end of it, I finally have it, it's mine.
Yeah. How about you, Jared? Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that hearing about that, because that gives you, you can't just buy your way into being able to join this group. You can't just get there from going to the auction house and being like, that gear and that gear and that gear, cool, perfect, now I'm good enough, I can get in. That gives you like a clear progression, and I really like the sound of that in any game, really. um for myself, I've always more been a PvE player. PvP came much later in WoW for me. I didn't really get into PvP properly until I think Warlords of Draenor in WoW, because that was the first time I actually realized that, oh wait, I have a class that's really good in PvP, and it was Hunter, and it was really good in Ashran, even though Ashran was actually terrible. But yeah, um, PvE has always been the one thing I look for in a game. It is, am I enjoying what I'm doing? Am I enjoying these quests? Because these quests are actually what's going to level me. Um, are these dungeons, or are there dungeons, I guess? And do they keep me intrigued the whole way, or am I literally falling asleep by the second boss of the dungeon, just because there's just too many trash mobs, or we're just running across random traps that you can't really even care about. You just walk over them. It's like, oh, okay, I took 10% damage. Oh no. Oh well, keep on going. I think that's my main draw. Lately in WoW, in retail at least, PvP has become far more of a objective for me, and I think that's also because they made it so that PvP gets such good gear. So it became more of an objective for me, which is where I found Final Fantasy kind of fell away, where it didn't have the grab of PvP. And maybe that will change, or maybe they're looking into changing that. But I feel the PvP in Final Fantasy was just never as drawing to what it was in WoW. But yeah, I think it's swayed over time for me.
I want to talk a little bit about PvP, right? Because PvP system is very interesting. I mean, you can break it into a few type of PvP as well. You have the organized PvP where you go into a battleground, so you go to you literally just port to a zone where you can just fight the opposite faction or another team or another player. But there's also world PvP and the other form of PvP, right? Like personally for me, I'm not a battleground player. I don't or like even arena, right? I mean, like organized. To some extent, there's a fun thing about it. You kind of like have your own composition, you plan your strategy, blah blah, you go in. But I'm more like a haphazard kind of like, I see a random dude there, I'm just gonna go kill him. I like that kind of like encounter. Right? I mean, if I'm to like be immersive, if I'm gone into like a fantasy world, of course I would like that kind of like encounter, where there's no warning. Straight away, like someone just jump onto you. And like right now on retail, there's no such thing. Even you're on PvP server, you have to flag yourself as PvP friendly. I mean, yeah, you have to turn on the button, then people can do that. Otherwise, I can just stand in front of you like, hey, come hit me, but
what
they
you gotta
can't.
do?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. So then what's the point of having a PvP server?
I think, that was the one thing that they changed, that there's no more PvP servers, and everyone was like, but why? What?
But why?
Okay,
Yeah.
now you can turn on PvP, and you now get a 10% bonus to everything just because you turned on PvP. And everyone was like, but why?
But
everyone that played on a PvE server
experience
was sitting
and
there going,
PvP doesn't come hand in hand. Experience more a
Yeah.
PvE thing.
Yeah.
As a PvP player or someone that likes PvP, I don't care about experience. I care about the experience that are killing you. Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing. When I started playing Rogue, which was in BFA, I found that I really loved the fact that I could literally just go around and kill people on the open world. It would turn
Correct.
PvP on, because I don't have to worry about anything, because I can be permanently invisible. So
Yep.
there's literally no harm in me turning on PvP as a rogue, or any rogue, because you literally see a druid and I'm like, a druid, cool, let me go kill him. A warlock, let me go kill him. Mage, let me go kill him. Hunter, let me go kill him. See a tank and you're like, oh, never mind, I'll just walk the opposite way.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry. And like, I think that was the one major thing that they did wrong. Either make everything PvE with no open world PvP, or let people have servers where they can go to and there's no extra experience for PvPing while you're PvEing. That should never have been the case.
Correct. Because I think back in the days, which has been happening now with Classic, and also TBC, yeah, it's to me World PvP is really fun. Like you have all these world bosses that like both Alliance and Horde. For my current server is actually not that fair because Horde like outnumbered Alliance by like 6-4 or like 7-3. So of course we will never win the world boss fight. But sometimes we will still kind of want to like just try our luck, and it's like 40 out versus 100, that kind of shit. Yeah, we still do that, and it's fun. And even without that, while you're questing, when you see that some lobbies or you will see some whatever, it's fun to kind of like mess each other up. That's the whole point of having Horde and Alliance, right? There's the whole point of having two different factions. And for this to just die away in Shadowlands, I just feel it's such a waste. It's such a
Do you know
waste.
what I hated a lot? I mean, I was a PvP junkie addict in WoW, but what I actually hated a lot was when a level 80 or 60 could come in a level 3 area and just chain kill you. That was so disturbing,
That's true, yeah.
Especially that there were like mages that will just, a level 60 mage will one shot a 10 level whatever with a frostbolt or with a
I think
frost shock.
they had a system at one point to kind of like protect that, right? I mean, in the lobby area, I think under 15 or 20.
Remember.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I remember. If I remember correctly, there was some sort of system to protect like players that are under level 10 or level 20, something along that line. But you're right that of course you have jerks like that. But that's the whole point of PvP, right? To some extent, like if you don't want to have PvP, then go to a Care server. That's fine. Like
the point of PvP is to be like challenger equal, not your inferior.
True, but you have jerks like that. You have jerks, and you have to embrace that. Yeah, like it or not.
I found. I had a lot of fun. It was one of my most fun times when we would go and raiding Stormwind, for example. I mean,
correct.
Destroying the Alliance town as a whole, but
then
the poor dwarf leveling there. I mean, it's a player leveling. Let him get the experience and you will kill him at level 80.
Honestly, I miss that. That's the one thing I miss a lot about old round PvPs is when you literally would go online and you just see in trade chat or looking for group chat like 6 or 7 groups all going, we're raiding this city, this main city. Cool, join us, and you join the group and there's like 60 people and you're like, okay, and you get there and there's suddenly like 200 people sitting there, and then the enemy has people there too because someone's obviously seen and gone, haha, let's tell them. Cool. That you don't have that anymore. No one even thinks about going to raid the opposing faction town anymore. It's just we're in the Shadowlands, guys.
Yeah, it was so fun. Yeah. It's still happening now in TBC, which I appreciate.
Yes,
I mean,
in TBC,
not as often as before,
no.
But yeah.
How's the Baron's chat?
Yeah.
Oh, Baron's chat was good for about 10 seconds, and then it just went to absolute shit again. I was like, well, okay, I expected that.
Okay.
Like there's actually a trend now in my server where like there are rogues that will always either go into Ironforge or like for the hot equivalent would be Ogrima or even maybe like the other capacity, right? The rogues will stealth in and then they will kill the auctioneers. They will kill all of the auctioneers at one point. Then you have to wait for them to respond. You're like, what the heck am I gonna do here? But like because of the you can't. I mean, not every city has auctioneer, right? Yeah, so that's a problem. Which is fun, but it's fun to kind of just mess up.
Yeah,
correct. And it's difficult. It's not something. It's not something that's easy to achieve, to be honest. For you to kill NPC like that, or you can just kill like the flight master and stuff like that, right? Yeah. But all these provide the additional spice and what attracts because it makes you feel like I can make a change. I can make something different in this world. Whatever I do has impact. But then that's what's lacking right now in retail and some of the other titles that we actually mentioned before. You don't have that option. NPCs are just NPC. No, but in last time in WoW and also in some of the other games, you can kill this NPC and you affect everyone's quality of life, which is awesome, right? Whether you want to be a good guy or a bad guy, you just defend. If you want to be a good guy, or I'm just gonna be a protector of Ogrima or whatever, you can do that too.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, like you said, some games just don't have that touch of PvP that WoW has. And for what it's worth, WoW has done PvP, leaving balancing aside, because that's another story.
Yeah.
WoW has done the actual PvP gameplay and how they arrange it pretty damn well.
There were a lot of ups and downs, for sure, for WoW PvP, I would say. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to just talk about the last topic today. Would be like I mentioned this briefly earlier about the commitment, right? So when we talk about MMO, we have like the option of like some games that is subscription based, but there's also single pay as well as free, like premium. You know, what is your opinion on these? Like, do you think there's one better than another, or what's your opinion on this? Like the payment scheme.
I think I would have answered differently 20 years ago, probably, although I was playing WoW and had a subscription. Strange. And now I'm playing one that is free. I don't think it matters a lot in terms of the quality of the players you get, or the demographic. Of course, it becomes frustrating when you are playing something like WoW and you're paying something monthly to the company that doesn't listen to your voice at all and does whatever they think it's good for the game, and that can backfire. Other than that, I don't know.
Yeah, I once again, like Dev said, 20 years ago, my answer would have been completely different. And, I've held this WoW sub for 15 years, basically. So I don't think it matters until a point where there's a problem or things go wrong, and you realize that, wait, I'm paying a subscription. Why? I can do the exact same thing. I mean, most of the time in another game that's free, or I just have to pay for the base game. You always thought that the reason why, well, I always thought that the reason why I was paying a sub for WoW was, for servers, because it was a massive game, and much like Final Fantasy, it's the two biggest games, and those are the ones with subscriptions. So you think it's, okay, yes, there's server prices and server maintenance and that kind of stuff. But then you look down and you see that a lot of the stuff that you're paying your subscription for isn't actually things that you want in the game. It's not, it's basically them telling you, in WoW at least, okay, we're doing this. And the player base goes, no, don't do that. We're not going to like that. And they go, you'll like it because it's there now. And everyone then, once the game releases, goes, we don't like it. And then they wonder why people are leaving the game. I don't think there's a inherent difference. I mean, unless there's pay to win, which is, again, a whole new topic. But I think at the end of the day, whether it's a free game or a game that you pay for the game and then you play, or if it has a subscription, I think all of them have their own basis somewhere in MMOs and can be great for anyone, really.
I think for me, it ultimately comes down to how rewarding it is, right? I mean, the payoff. Because when you give out something, when you pay something with cash or money or whatever, you want to feel that it's warranted. So, like I would say that's how most players choose their games, right? Like if I can achieve, like what you said, I can achieve this amount of experience, this amount of fun with a free game, why not? As compared to I have to pay like $15-20 per month for a game that I have to play, I pay for the base game too. It's like, but if I'm getting double the fun or like the experience, then maybe it's worth it. Or sometimes it could be for different reasons. Could be for like nostalgia sake. It could be for like loyalty sake. It could be for whatever. So it's all about that internal balance that we have, right? Like how much does it worth for me to invest into this? That's how I feel.
It also depends. I think it depends on the age. I mean, if you are a 15, 16-year-old who isn't earning its own money and it doesn't have a credit card or a debit card yet, it doesn't really matter. It's money from the parents. My mom or my dad pays for the game. I will play it as long as I want or like, or as long as my school friends are playing it, and we'll migrate next to as a group to other game once we are done with this. I think those choices that we are talking to about are coming a bit later in life, you know, when you start to question, understand, and decide what you
Yeah,
do with
that is.
those $20 or $12 a month.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that is probably one of the biggest things that we're looking at it from a very much our age group aspect. But at the bottom end of things, I say the bottom end, the younger end of things, teenagers, kids, remember that gaming has now become accessible to basically everyone. And a lot of parents might play a game with their kids, an MMO especially. And I think a lot of the time they might shy away from something that you paid monthly for because of well, if it doesn't, if the kid's not enjoying it, then why would I want to pay? Or if I'm not enjoying it, why would I keep paying? That kind of stuff.
Okay. All right. Final question before I wrap this up. Just trust me. Final question for real. Do you think there will ever be one MMO that will be able to like convert it into be like esports friendly? Or I know to a certain extent WoW kind of did that before with like the arena, right? But do you think that MMO and esports can go together? I think that's the question.
Only in the PvP side of things, I guess. And I actually, as much I'm not following WoW and I have a problem with the whole thing, I watch the world races, the guild, you know, that I like too, but I don't see how it can have a place in the. I mean, it's very hard to even imagining that happening on a LAN. It can happen. It can happen because each guild has its own rhythm, pulls a boss two nights in a row or 8 hours or whatever. You can't make a schedule around that. But arena, yes, PvP can have an esports side or a competitive side. But then again, it's a bit weird because there's many classes, you know, there's a lot to learn. I say that while covering Dota. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
think
again,
you're right though. Carry on.
I remember when I stopped playing WoW and I had some years gap before returning and watching the first arena tournament. It was at some BlizzCon. I didn't understand the thing except the fact that that was an Orlok and that was a rogue. They changed it so much, the game, you know, and the PvP aspect and the talent tree and everything. I was like completely lost.
Yeah, I think that is very much what I was going to say. That you could go with a PvP kind of MMO aspect, which would be the only way that you could really have it. But I think the problem is that PvP changes so much, especially in WoW, that, and I think in general that it wouldn't be something that you'd watch constantly because of, yeah, meta changes in other games, but that character is still that character with the same 4 spells that whereas in in an MMO or in WoW at least, that character just becomes completely new. They can switch specs to, each class has 3 different specs. They can switch to something else. They can become completely different. And I think that from a viewer's perspective, it becomes a lot harder to watch. And I know for WoW with Arena, they had like the little drop-down menu where you could see the items and what spells each person was using and how they spec'd. But I don't think that it fits in properly. It fits in at a very low level of esports, where it's not, it garners views from a few thousand, a few 100,000, but at the end of the day, it's not the Dota, it's not the League of Legends. It's just not that kind of esport.
Yeah. I just want to bring up like for a while at the very least, like aside from the arena, they also have the Mythic Dungeon International, right? I mean that's technically a high key push, and then it's a speed trial, whichever team that can finish the mythic dungeon the fastest, right? Like I used to like it. I think the first 1 or 2 years I used to watch it because I was playing the game back then, so I kind of know how hard it is to do certain thing. I know all these mobs that they're fighting. They are so tough when you're like at 25 plus and above, right? And all the abilities I was aware of them, but for the other spectators that may not be like familiar with this patch or even WoW in general, they will not be able to understand a single thing. Yeah, this is going like, okay, just five guys doing shit. Yeah,
And
it's not easy to follow.
there's
Yeah.
also this, I mean, when you say it, the esports side, we kind of got used this day to the online side of things of esports, but you have to understand that this should translate into in-person tournament, right? A LAN. And for me, it's very hard to picture how you bring guilds and how they will do a mythic run on the stage or in the rooms, and you have them on some screens on the stage. It's somehow why this PUBG, and games like that still struggle to find the perfect formula for LANs, I think, because it's just too much people to bring and to follow at the same time. And
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess with that, we kind of like wrap up our episode, our podcast this week about MMO. If you like what you hear, if you want to share with us your thought, do leave down a comment, do like our video, to subscribe to us. At the same time, we are also available on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. And you can also reach out to us email and tell us any sort of ideas you have or anything that you want us to talk about, esports or otherwise. Tell us, reach out to us, editorial@gosugamers.net. And yeah, thank you guys, and see you guys next time.
Just
Bye.
yeah.